Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. Today's class and lunch is sponsored by Jeff and Lori Goldchin. This is in memory of Paul Kessler. May Hashem comfort his wife and his family amongst the mourners of Zion in Jerusalem. I'm sure by now you're all aware of what took place right here in our community. Sunday there was a pro-Palestinian rally taking place on the corner of Westlake Boulevard and Thousand Oaks Boulevard. Their rally was taking place on the side of the shopping center. If you're familiar with that corner, there's four corners, that's where they were. Paul and a friend wanted to just go and express their support of Israel by holding an Israeli flag. That's all that they went to do. And as soon as they were seeing that there was an Israeli flag across the street, if you're again familiar, you know where the Shell gas station is. That's where Paul was standing, by the Shell gas station. Some of those from the pro-Palestinian rally crossed the street. One of them was holding a bullhorn, and they started shouting some real anti-Semitic remarks to the ear of those that were holding Israeli flags. It was about Hitler didn't finish the job, is that we need to finish what Hitler started. Anti-Semitic remarks and threats. They then crossed the street to the corner in front of the Shell station where Paul was there. According to eyewitnesses, the bullhorn was then used to hit Paul in the face. Somehow Paul fell to the ground. We don't have a video clip that shows how that happened, whether he was pushed, whether it was from the bullhorn, whether there was some other scuffle. He fell backwards onto the ground. His head hit the ground. The ambulance was called. He was rushed to the hospital. He was immediately in critical condition with a brain bleed. And at 1:10 a.m. Monday morning early, he passed away. We've been in close touch with the local sheriff, with the chief of police of Thousand Oaks. They are investigating. They have 30 detectives working on it. The individual, the assailant, was questioned at the scene, and then later again at his home. He has not been arrested as of yet, but the video clips that have come our way that are now, the last hour, put on Twitter as well, people are posting, again, does not show the blow that pushed him to the ground, but does show the seconds before, with the remarks being made by the bullhorn into the ears of the few pro-Israel demonstrators. And again, it wasn't even a pro-Israel demonstration. It was just a few individuals standing to make a statement with the flag. They weren't screaming anything. They weren't shouting anything. Literally just standing on a street corner of the United States of America holding an Israeli flag. We've been in touch with some of our Congress people, especially Brad Sherman, who's been a dear friend for many, many years. Henry Stern from the State Senate office has been here numerous times. We've been in touch with County Supervisor Jeff Gurrell. And what we are asking is that the FBI open an investigation into a hate crime. That this does not remain just a county level investigation, but after seeing what we have seen and the remarks being made, that this is elevated to a hate crime that we'd like to see the FBI involved. And we'll keep the community up to date on where this is holding and developing. There are nightly vigils at the scene, at the site, every night at 6 o'clock. These are peaceful vigils. They're there for us to pray together, to come together. And on Sunday, there's a community-wide rally being planned for 11 o'clock. Again, for those that will be attending, I ask that it be peaceful. All of the rallies that take place throughout the world that is in favor of pro-Israel have all been about praying, have all been about coming together. It's all been about unity. It's all been about bringing the hostages home and awareness. And that's what we ask, is that we remain focused on what our agenda is. Our agenda is we want the hostages home, and we want those guilty of October the 7th, of the atrocities that took place in Israel, brought to justice. Difficult times, but at the same time, as I've mentioned in all my talks since coming from Israel, the response from the worldwide Jewish community has been like nothing I have seen in my entire life. Now, I know I was born before the 67 war, but I was only 4 years old, the Six-Day War. So I was always told that in 67, this was the feel out there in the Jewish world, that there was such a sense of unity, such a sense of Jewish pride, such a sense of togetherness and caring for one another. But we're experiencing it right now. The desire to be connected, the desire to be involved, the desire to help has been like nothing we have seen before. And it's a compliment to every single one of us. It's a compliment to the Jewish world. You know, we've been in exile for thousands of years. And some are more observant, some are less observant. Some are more secular, some are more religious. Some are right-wing, some are left-wing. We disagree on, I would say, everything. If there's two Jews, there's three opinions. And we all smile when we hear it because we know how true it is, right? You can't have a dinner with some Jews around the table without it getting into some type of argument, some disagreement. But then we have dessert and coffee together. And I think what we're experiencing is the fact is that we are one family. We've always been one family. And when we feel this threat, the threat of survival, and that's what this is, it's the threat of survival, the Jewishness, the soul comes out, and we all feel it, and we all sense it, and we all just want to be one. We want to be together. As I've mentioned, and again, a number of my talks, I've been to Israel for a solidarity mission 2 weeks ago. We made lots of connections there with families, with people involved. In visiting with the families of the hostages, I personally met with 10 families that have children that are hostages right now in Gaza. We met with numerous families that lost loved ones in the horrible attack of October 7th, many in the hospitals, and also met on many army bases with some of the young, brave soldiers of Tzahal. And we are continuing to supply support in many types of ways, financial support as well. While there, we distributed from this community alone close to $50,000 in support, and it has continued to come in, and we've continued to show that support. We normally do our match fundraising campaign around Thanksgiving and Hanukkah time. We moved it up this year so that we could raise the funds now. And we're devoting the funds, most of the funds that we're raising now is going straight to families to help in Israel, especially with the evacuees. Thus far, 250,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. So although this class is not about appeals, I'm going to make that exception today. There are cards in front of you. You can fill it out, give it to me after class, give it to Jacob. Jacob, raise your hand if they don't know you after class. Whatever you give is going to be matched by two other donors, and therefore everything you give is matched a total 3 times. Again, this is Klal Yisrael, this is the Jewish people coming together. Those out there in Zoom land, those out you in Facebook time or in YouTube land, you can participate as well. It's Chabad Conejo, Chabad, Conejo, which means rabbit in Spanish, Conejo.com, and you can do that / and the word Israel. That will take you to the website, and please do participate generously. I want you to say, yes, Chabad, it's actually on the card itself, ChabadConejo.com. It's either /Israel or /match. Either one will get you to the site. Okay? Thank you. / not backslash? What's the difference between a / and a /? I've never figured this one out. I could make an argument if it's forward or back. Now, I've been interviewed in the last 48 hours now by 14 different news sites, and every comes back to the question of anti-Semitism and what I'm advising the Jewish community and how to deal with anti-Semitism. One reporter prior to interviewing me actually told me that he's Jewish and he advised his own daughter to take her mezuzah off. And that is the exact opposite of what we need to do to combat anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism flourishes when Jews are scared. when Jews run, when Jews hide, when Jews are afraid, when Jews take their kippah off. That's exactly what they want. And when they see that they're getting what they want, it increases. The only response that has always worked for thousands of years for anti-Semitism is standing strong, standing proud, standing up for what you believe, standing up for Judaism, Jewish belief, Jewish practice, Jewish heritage. So no matter what level of observance you are, increase it just a little bit. That's your response to the anti-Semite. Many years ago, I've told you the story of a Hanukkah, the first year that we put up a Hanukkah menorah at the Agura Hill City Mall. First time we put up a big menorah in the area. And of course, we got a phone call from an anonymous anti-Semite. Take that down. We don't want your Jewish symbols in public. And if you don't take it down, we're going to burn it down. We're going to burn your center down. All threats. But no, obviously not giving a phone number. This was before the days of caller ID. So I right away called the police. We got a threatening phone call. They came, they took a report. Okay, if it ever happens again, call us again. And Rabbi Sapo says to me, what are we going to call the police? What are the police going to do? Let's respond the way we know how to respond. What do you got in mind? He said, let's put up another menorah somewhere else. That's a good way of thinking. And so we decided we're going to do that. And we put up a menorah that year in Ventura, the Buenaventura Plaza. We put a press release out in the Ventura Press, whatever the name of the newspaper was, and we were shocked because 300 people showed up in Ventura. This goes back quite a few years ago, a few decades ago. And you don't have 300 people normally coming out for a Jewish event in Ventura 30 some odd years ago. So all the press was there, the media was there, and I got up and I said that we'd like to make a very special dedication before we light this menorah. We're dedicating this menorah to the anonymous anti-Semite. And that became the story. Chabad dedicates the menorah to the anonymous anti-Semite. And it went so well that we decided every year we're putting up another menorah in another city in honor of the anonymous anti-Semite. Now the beauty of these stories is once 300 people showed up, then what Chabad basically does is says, whoa, potential. You put a pin on the map. We're opening a Chabad house in Ventura. And we did that. Rabbi Yaakov and Sarah Ladowitz moved out 3 months later to open Chabad of Ventura, and we dedicated at the dedication to the anonymous anti-Semite. We did the same in Simi Valley. We did the same in Calabasas. We continued each year to increase another menorah, and we're always dedicating it to the anonymous anti-Semite. This anonymous anti-Semite made one phone call, but it has about 6 Chabad houses dedicated to him by now. That's the way we respond. You respond with strength, you get stronger, not weaker. You don't hide, you stand taller. I want you to know, and you should all feel good about this, there is a shortage today, for the first time that I can remember, of tefillin and mezuzot in the entire world. The scribes can't make them quick enough because of the amount of orders that have come in the last 30 days for people that want mezuzot and want tefillin. We literally have a shortage in the world. It's never happened. In Israel, on the top of the list of what the soldiers are requesting, because we're always giving out lists, what do you guys need? The cell phone chargers, we need cosmetics, we need bulletproof vests. Number 1 on the list is tzitzit. They all want to wear the tzitzit. They're not all religious, as you know. They generally do not wear it, but they want to wear it now. Shortage in Israel on tzitzit. Tzitzit is the talis that people wear under the shirt, right? With the strings, the yo-yo strings, right? I want you to understand, this is the way we respond. Exactly the way we're doing. We come together. We become one family. We become stronger and prouder. And we will get through this. Israel will be victorious. God should bless them and watch over them, that not another single chayal should fall, not another soldier should fall. And we need a supernatural miracle, as I say, the types that he did in Egypt. He didn't lose the manual of how to pull off those miracles, God Almighty. Give us one of those big supernatural miracles and bring all 241 hostages home. Bring every single one home safely to their families, to their loved ones, and we should indeed see the hand of God is watching over Israel. One more announcement and we'll get started. That the next lecture coming your way is an extra lecture that I'll be giving, and that's Monday, November 20th That's a week from this coming Monday, I believe. Yeah, if you know. Yeah, okay. 7:30 p.m. The title is What's on Your Bucket List? Okay, Monday, November 20th, 7:30. What's on your bucket list? It'll be live and available, Zoom, FaceTime, YouTube. However, I really like seeing faces. Nothing against you guys in the Zoom land, on the camera, nothing against you. But it's beautiful to see a full room of people. So please, if you can, come out and join the lecture. It's free. I just want your reservations in advance so we know how many seats to set up. It's Monday, November 20th, 7:30 p.m. We started chapter 13 last week. And again, I didn't put out sheets for you because it's one verse, and I'll just read you the verse, and we'll take it from there. It's chapter 13 of the book of Deuteronomy. I explained last week what the book of Deuteronomy is about. This is the verse. Everything I command you shall be careful to do it. You shall neither add to it nor subtract from it. So Moses is telling the Jewish people, every part of the Torah is important. Every single mitzvah, I want you to protect, to watch over, to practice it. And then he adds, don't add to the Torah, don't subtract from the Torah. Lo sosif, lo sigra. Don't add, don't subtract. We don't tamper with it. We protect it, we strengthen it, we strive to understand it, we can struggle with it, but we don't mess with it. We don't reinvent it. We don't try to one-up God, to say, well, we can do a better job. I know we all think we can. We all think if we ran the world it would be different, but I'm not so sure. We don't try to perfect perfection. We don't compromise it for politically correct reasons, for what's in fashion and what's not in fashion. We keep it in its holiness, and we strive at best to uphold it and to keep as many mitzvot as we can. I finished last week by telling you the mushroom omelet story. Anyone here remember that? I'm not going to repeat it.
Thank God.
But I'll start with the town clock story, which is another story I told quite often. In most cities, before everyone had a watch, there's a town clock. The town clock is up on a tower. And everyone passes the town clock. They therefore know what time it is, and they set their timepieces based on that, because their watches and their timepieces weren't necessarily that accurate. So every day they set their timepieces to the town clock. And each time as they pass by, they stop, they look up, set their timepiece, and go on to work. One day, someone came to the city council meeting. Now, you know at the city council meetings, if you've ever attended, there's that opening time where anyone can say any comment, whatever's on their mind. Well, this fellow stands up to the microphone and says, members of the city council, why is it that when we have to go by the town clock, do we have to strain our necks to look up? Why does the clock have to be so high up? Why can't we bring the clock to the bottom of the tower so that we could just look straight ahead? Every member of the city council thought about it and said, it's a good question. Why indeed is it all the way up? And so they had a vote, 5-0, to move the clock down to the lower part of the tower so people didn't have to strain their neck. Next day, everyone's on their way to work. They're taking a look. They look at the time that they have on their watch. They look at the time that's on the town clock thing, and the town clock has a different time than what they have on their watch. So instead of setting their clock, they simply move the handle of the town clock, because the town clock is wrong. The next guy came, the town clock was wrong again, so he moved it. The next guy came, and within a week the town clock was broken. And there was a city council meeting to figure out an investigation as to why is the town clock broken. And they realized that when the clock was up on high, yes, you strained your neck, but you set your clock by it. When the clock was within reach, everyone decided that their clock was right, and the town clock must be wrong. And that's why it broke. And they had the cranes come and they moved the clock back to the top. Now the story never happened, I just want you to know that. But it's a great parable. When the Torah was kept up on the top, we strained our necks, but we held by it. Doesn't mean we kept it all, but we held by it. It was the Torah. I can do as much as I possibly can. I'll strive to do more. This commandment I'm struggling with, this commandment I don't understand, but it was the Torah. But then we went to the city council meeting and we said, why do we have to strain? Why don't we just bring it down? Bring it to our level, to what we want, to what we can accept, to what we desire, to what we think. And we move the clock back down. And what happens? Everyone comes along and makes the change the way they want it. This chapter I don't like anymore. Let's delete that chapter. Let's take that verse out. This verse, it's not politically correct anymore. And we start changing it until it's broken, until it doesn't work, until it doesn't sell. So let's have a city council vote here. Let's move the clock back up. Keep it in its perfection. Strain your neck a little bit. It's okay to have a verse or 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 that you struggle with, that you don't understand. Work at it. I've always said in these classes, and it's been going on for quite a long time, our lunch and learn classes. Jay, how many years have we been doing it?
Too many.
Why too many? We got old together.
Early 90s?
Huh?
Early 90s?
So it was Jay, Tom, and myself that started this Wednesday afternoon class.
Oh, wow.
And how, do anyone know the year? What year?
And Brad Greenberg and then 91.
Brad Greenberg, yeah. Yeah, 91? That's quite a few years. We're still not going to be finished for another 15 years. What was I saying, Jay?
About the Torah and the clock.
No, we should strain.
It's okay for, I know what I was saying. I was saying that the verses that I struggle with the most to teach, meaning, I look at the verse and say, I got to sell this next week. Ooh, that's a tough one. It's a hard verse. I have to invest a lot of time in researching that particular verse and thinking about every question that you're going to ask me about that verse. But those verses come out to be the most powerful, the most meaningful, because you put yourself into it. It's okay to struggle with it. It's okay to struggle with some of the biblical stories. But don't move this clock down. Don't say, okay, so then I'll just say this never really happened. This is just a symbolism. It didn't really happen that way. It's a parable. No, it's there. Struggle with it a little bit. Keep the clock up. We all, we go to work and we get our salaries, right? We have a contract with our boss. It specifies in the contract how many hours we need to put in per week, what our salary will be, what overtime would possibly be, how many days off we get, all detailed. What if I went to the boss and I said, you tell me I have to put in 40 hours a week and I get this salary. I want to put in 50 hours a week, but don't pay me a penny extra. I just want to work 50 hours. Most bosses would say that's great. Sometimes, in our case, the boss says, no, you can't add. But I'm not going to ask for any extra pay. No, 40 hours is 40 hours. God is telling us here, do not add to the Torah. And you wonder, why not? What if I wanted to keep 2 days a week Shabbos? Saturday is Shabbos, Tuesday is Shabbos too. I want to keep it in the full. I want to make kiddush. I want to have challah. It's a great dinner. I want to daven in shul day. I don't want to go to work. Tuesday is Shabbos too. What if I want to put on tefillin, not just on my left arm, I want to put it on both arms? Why is it bothering God? If it's good on one hand, why wouldn't it be good on two? What if I want to put up a mezuzah on the left side of the door and the right side of the door? If one mezuzah is good, two is even better. Why does it bother God so much that he has to tell me here, don't add to it? Everything I command you shall be careful to do. You shall neither add to it nor subtract to it. Now I can understand the latter part, don't subtract, don't take away a mitzvah. God says don't do this. You want to delete it? God says don't do that. It says don't steal. That's old. We want to be able to steal. No, God says, all the things that I tell you, you can't delete anything. That part I understand. But why does it bother God if I want to be super religious? If I want to add to a commandment, why does it bother him? So I think we can understand this by describing what Torah is and what Torah is not. I'm sure we can argue about it. What's the most famous painting, perhaps, in the world? The Mona Lisa is always talked about as one of the greatest pieces of art in the world, made by Leonardo da Vinci. It's hanging in some museum in Paris. The Louvre? Okay. Jacob, can you lower the ear a little bit? Thanks. We got some music going on. That's all right. I just say, if you want to keep the ringers with music on, it has to be Hava Nagila being played. Anything that's not Hava Nagila, you're going to have to try to shut it before class. So the guy goes over to the Mona Lisa, and he wants to make a change to it. I can do one better. Da Vinci made it the nose that way. I think the nose would look better this way, right? We know that the security would be all over that person right away. Why? Because it's art. And you may say that the nose doesn't look perfect and the lips doesn't look perfect, but it's not about the nose and it's not about the lips. It's about everything that the artist puts into that picture, to that painting. It's art. You can't alter art. You can't update art. If you do, it's no longer that artist's picture. You have changed it. It was inspired by that artist, but now it has a touch of someone else as well. That perfection is no longer there. What is the Torah? So some would say Torah is the book of Jewish law, right? It's the book of the laws of the Jewish people. But is it really? No. How many laws do you find in the book of Genesis? Not too many. There's a circumcision mentioned in the book of Genesis, but not too many other laws that are mentioned in the book of Genesis. So the Torah is not law. Is it a story book? No, it uses stories to teach, but it's not a storybook. Is it a history book? Not really. There's so much of time that goes by that you don't know anything about. You jump in the first two portions, you go through 1,000 years. Abraham is 2,000 in the year 2000. We've gone through 2,000 years in two portions, and then it slows down a little bit. The 40 years in the wilderness, you know a lot about the first year, you know a lot about the last year. You don't know too much about the 38 years in the middle. It's a pretty lousy history book, if you ask me, if it's trying to be just that history book. Is it a timeline? No, it's not a timeline. In fact, we have a rule about the Torah that you can't take anything as a timeline from the order of the Torah, which means just because one portion comes first doesn't mean it actually happened before the portion that comes afterwards. Ein mukdam uma'ucha b'Torah. Do not look at the order of the Torah as the order in which it took place. You need other facts to tell you what took place first or what took place second. So, yes, it has laws, but it's not a book of law. Yes, it has stories, but it's not a storybook. Yes, it has history, but it's not a history book. Yes, it has some sort of timeline, but it's not a timeline book. What is it? It's God's piece of art. It's the artist putting his art before you. The Ten Commandments begins with the word Anochi. What does Anochi mean? I am. But in Hebrew, what is I am? Ani. Anochi is not, I believe it's an Egyptian word. Why was Anochi selected to be that word? So the commentaries explain that Anochi, really using Egyptian dialect, because that's from where the Jews came, is because it's an acronym. Aleph, Nun, Chaf, Yud stand for 4 Hebrew words. Ana, Nafshi, Kosvis, Yavis. That means, I, the author referring to God, I have put my soul into this writing. Anochi. I put myself into this. The Torah is God's artwork to us. God puts himself into the Torah through words for us to be able to connect to him. So the Torah is, in essence, God's soul on paper, in physical words. God's imagination right there on the parchment. God's inner mind, God's persona, he puts into and reflected in the Torah. Just like loving and dedicated parents might envision in their minds the type of life and the future they hope for their child, God has painted a picture in the Torah of the majestic life which he envisions for us, for his children. If you think about this like the paint by number. Remember as kids we always liked doing those paint by numbers because we felt like an artist when it was all done, right? So imagine if a fine artist gives you the outline to fill in. Think of it like a Chagall by number. All you have to do is follow the instructions, fill in the blanks, and presto, you have a divine masterpiece. The 613 commandments of the Torah are not only the constitution of Judaism, the constitution of Jewish law, where if we said that it was just a book of law, then you can get into the arguments of why can't we add to it. The Torah is not only a contract between the supreme employer and employee. The Torah is anat nafshi. It's the divine inner core. It's the divine soul, so to speak, expressing itself in this singular mosaic. In this particular work, in this tapestry, we have God's essence. And so when we say, the verse tells us, don't add to it, don't subtract to it, it's because it's perfection. It's as it's meant to be. You know, people will always say, but isn't it time after thousands of years? You know, everything is a 2.0, right? Apple comes out every year with a new iPhone. There's iPhone 1, then there was 2. What are we up to now? 15, right? Every phone comes up with the next generation. Every good movie has a sequel. So why shouldn't there be a Torah 2.0? You know, if there's, and the answer is because there isn't a God 2.0. If there's a God 1.0 and God is infinite and God lives before, past, and present all at the same time, then the Torah is the same Torah as was the same God. Yeah, it's easy for one to say, if God would have only known back then that there was going to be government regulations concerning health food, then there wouldn't have been kosher. If God would have known how easy it is to turn a key in this or just switch a light, then it wouldn't be considered work on Shabbos. We can use our justifications to explain why we want to delete any of the commandments. It's perfection. God was infinite. He knew about the light switch back then. He knew about health food back then. He knew all of this, and yet he told us. These are the commandments he wants us to strive for. Going back to what's the name of the museum in Paris? Louvre. Why does it have an R in there? It always throws me off.
Because they're French.
And why do they throw R's in name? Well, I'm sure we do the same, right? And he's looking at the Mona Lisa, right? If I was to go, okay, and I didn't know anything about the Mona Lisa before and its fame, and I would just look at it, I would probably look at it for about 2 seconds and walk by as if, right? The tour guide is showing this off, and the tour guide is all filled with passion about the beauty of this, and this fellow that's in this part of this tour just says, I don't see anything special about it. And the tour guide can't handle that. It's the Mona Lisa, and the tour guide says this line, the Mona Lisa is not on trial here today. You are. Meaning, don't question the paint, question yourself as far as your appreciation of the art. The Torah and the perfection of Torah is not on trial. It has stood the test of time. We are. The challenge is on us to appreciate it. God doesn't have to defend it to us. We need to strive to look to the top of the tower. So we have 5 books of Moses. We do not have 6. We do not have a New Testament in Judaism. We have 1 Testament. You may want to call it the Old Testament, but the Old Testament signifies that there's an old and there's a new. There's only 1 Testament. That 1 Testament, that 1 Torah has 613 commandments, not 612 and not 614. You can't invent a new commandment, and you can't delete any of the commandments that God gave us. Now, we can talk about rabbinics. We can talk about there being rabbinic law. That's not the same as a Torah law. We can talk about fences around the Torah. That's also not the same. We can argue about those rabbinic laws. We can have that debate. We can talk about the oral Torah. We can debate all of that, all open for discussion. But understand that the 613 commandments of the Torah are there. They're part of us. We can strive to keep them. We can struggle with some. We can push some off for another time when we're really feeling spiritual and up to it. But they are there. The constitution of Judaism does not change. So we light candles before Shabbat. The rabbi said, you know what? Don't light it right at the minute of Shabbat. Light it 18 minutes before sunset. So you give yourself a little buffer of time. That's not adding a new law. That's putting a fence. That's saying back up a little bit, because what happens if you didn't set your watch to the town clock and your watch is a little bit wrong? You can end up lighting the candle on Shabbat and desecrating Shabbat rather than increasing holiness. And so we'll back it up a little bit. I'll give you another example of rabbinic. Hanukkah. We all light a menorah. Doesn't say anywhere in the 5 books of Moses to light a menorah. Why? Because Hanukkah happened later in history. The story of Purim happened later in history. But the Torah did tell us to listen to those that guide you in each generation. If they see that a miracle occurred and they want to mark that miracle, listen to what they have to say. So we don't look at it as a biblical, as a Torah law, but we look at it as a rabbinic law. It's a rabbinic holiday. On Shabbat, there's a lot that we can't do. There's something called muksa. We don't even touch the things that could lead to something we could do. Meaning, we're not allowed to go to the store shopping on Shabbat. So the rabbis say, you know what? Let's back it up. Don't even touch money. Don't touch it. If you don't touch it, you can't come to use it. That's muksa. Again, rabbinic law putting a fence. But as far as the Torah itself, we leave it in its pristine state. We leave it exactly the way it is. Every letter of the Torah is critical. Anyone know exactly how many letters there are in the Torah scroll? 304,805. 304,805 letters in every Torah scroll. Do you know that if one letter is missing, we can't use that Torah in the synagogue? If one letter has a crack in it, we can't use that letter, that Torah in the synagogue. We take the belt of the Torah that we generally tie around it, we tie it outside the cover, because that tells us this Torah needs to be fixed by a scribe. And we won't use it until it's fixed by a scribe. Now you say, you got 304,804 letters that are perfect. One letter is not. Can't use it. Why? Because it's a piece of art. And art has to be perfection. Yes, Jack?
There's a story that I read where everything in the world is in the Torah. Places,
Yep.
people, times,
Right.
names.
Right.
All you need is a coding. The computers
Okay.
have found that.
Okay, so
You can't do that to any other book.
let me address the coding right now. I'll close the class on that subject right now. The subject of coding could be the subject of an entire seminar, and is. Let me tell you what Jack is referring to, what I mean by coding, okay? Because it created a tremendous excitement in the world, and then you had mathematicians coming out on each side of it. It is real, it's not real, and that became the story. Coding is true. It's real. It's always been part of Jewish thought. What does coding mean? If the Torah is authored by God, and God is infinite, then somewhere in the Torah, God signed it. And that's why I call today's class the signature of God. God authored the Torah. Authored means you should be able to find in front of your eyes that this is the author, that the author is God. Not hidden, not just someone told you, it's there. So what does coding mean? 304,805 letters, broken up into words, sentences, portions, and stuff like that. But what if we put all 304,805 letters in a row? Just made it one big word. And then saw if by using letter gaps, we can find certain codes that were pre-planted by the author beforehand, so that he'll be showing us no human being could have done this. So coding was actually discussed thousands of years ago. We find writings about coding from ancients before the computer came out. Let me give you an example so perhaps it can help you. If I was to look for any name, let's say I wanted to find the name Moshe, right? Mem, Shin, Hey. And I said, I see all the times it says the word Moshe in the Torah, but does it have it in any letter gaps? Letter gaps means I pick a number. Let's say 20. What if I just looked for the first Mem, and I jumped 20 letters, and I found a Shin, and I jumped 20 letters, and I found a Hey. Wow, look, my name is there in 20 letter intervals. You're going to say, what's the big deal? There's a good statistical chance that you're going to take any 3 letters you want, and you will find them in intervals of gaps that are equal. Now what if the name has 4 letters, 5 letters, 6 letters, 10 letters? The longer this name, now it becomes less probable that you're going to find that word in equal intervals. You follow me so far? Okay. So the mathematicians and the statistics are out there that every name up to about 6 letters, every single one, can be found in the book of the Torah as it can be found in any book of literature. You take any book of literature and put it into your computer, you will also find names coming up. You will find your name somewhere in some other book in letter intervals. By statistics, it will happen about 5 or 6 times in a particular area. But what if, in one particular part of the Torah, it breaks the statistics of 5 and 6 times, and it has it 25 times? Does that get your attention? So the example I want to give you is just want to give you one. I'm going to whet your appetite to this idea of the coding, and I'm going to leave you just in that particular place and tell you to go buy some books, pro and con, and see what you want to do with it. What was Moses' brother's name? Aaron. Okay, anyone know how you spell Aaron in Hebrew? Aleph, Hey, Resh, Nun. 4 letters, okay? There is a book of the Torah, the 3rd book of the Torah, the book of Leviticus, that is given to the Kohanim. It's a book of instructions to the priests. Who's the high priest of the Jewish people? Aaron. Okay. Again, you can find any name in any chapter of any book, Bible or not book, it will always fall into a statistical number. If you look for Bozo, okay, you will find him anywhere between 5 to 8 times in any book. Bozo is there. Any of your names is there. Any name you want, because statistically, that's the way it works. If it's a longer name, that number drops. But when you find this jump, as I said, that goes from 5 to 8 to 25 times, all found in the 1st chapter of Leviticus. Aaron's name is found 25 times in letter intervals. Nowhere else in the Bible will you find it. Nowhere in any other book will you find that statistically. Only in the 1st chapter of the book of Leviticus that was given over to Aaron is Aaron's name found 25 times in number intervals. That's not statistically possible. There's so many of these types of examples that will define, once you come to this conclusion, whoever wrote it that did not have a computer was divine. Only a divine author could have possibly done that. It cannot be done by a human being. You can't write a book that type of way. Again, this is not a class on Bible coding. The reason why Bible coding got such a bad rap is because people started looking at it to predict the future. And they started putting in what they wanted to see that the Bible says happening in the future. They would say, how many times is this found? And they would come out and say, we can predict that this is what's going to happen in the world. We can predict that this is what's going to happen in the stock market. And it turned into this whole fad. It took it off. Its original reason of looking into it is, were there messages that God gave us in the Torah that we can find that God is the author of the Torah? In that, it's real, it's there. So many examples of what I just told you, like the example of Aaron, which is statistically not possible unless the author was the divine, was God himself. Again, maybe throughout the next few weeks, I'll sprinkle a little more of this because I know it's exciting stuff to look at. Maybe we'll actually give out sheets so that you can see more what I'm talking about. But what I'm going to go to next week was, to me, a little more exciting than just coding. Coding is more of the excitement of the mathematician world and statistics and stuff like that. And again, it is very exciting. We could talk about it more. But what I want to talk about is the prophecies that are mentioned black and white in the stories of the Torah, in the words of the Torah, that no human being could have possibly known. And it's there for you. Now, anytime I'll give a class like this, I'm not trying to force Torah on you. I've never done that. I want to present it to you, and I want you to take an honest, fresh look at it and say, maybe. Maybe. Now, don't walk away if you are going to accept that maybe this is a divine book, and then say, ooh, now I have to feel guilty. Because now I'm not a good Jew, because now the Torah is from God and divine, and I'm not keeping it. That's not what I want to accomplish with you. I want that maybe to lead to, take a second look at it. See if God is talking to you and see what you can pick. It's not an all or nothing. You'll pick something. But have an open mind. Look at it fresh. See if you can take that town clock, put it on the top of the tower, strain your head a little bit, look up, and see that God is really talking to you. So next week, again, we're going to look at some of the prophecies that are written black and white, not needing a computer, not needing coding, and that you will see indeed that there's a message here from God to us and talking to us about future and see where it leads us. Have a wonderful week, everybody. There is lunch for everyone.